went through chemo. I went through one session of chemo, and today I had my blood test and my CT scan, and I'm supposed to be seeing the doctor on Monday.
Okay.
And I'm so thankful and blessed to be where I'm at, and it's like the timing was right. Um, when it happened, not that it's a great thing, but when it happened, where I'm at right now in my life, my living situation and everything, like everything couldn't have fallen in line better. And and my wife works for the same company that gave me my chemo, and she works hand in hand with the doctors, and she looked at my scans and she said, "Hey, I think everything's gonna be okay." And I said, "Well, I hope so, and fingers crossed." And sitting there with people who are 50 years older than you, it hits you different. And every time they come, every day that I went, you get to know people. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? You chit chat, sit and chit chat with them, and it's crazy. You don't realize it until every time they give you your steroid or your bag of chemo, they ask you for your birthday. 7196. Okay, and they put it up, and then the person next to me, 83 from 47. I said, from what? And it wasn't until then that I started that I began to like fathom and understand we are here for not a long time, and we need to make the best of it.
Welcome to the Taking Off the Mask podcast. My name is Ashanti Branch, and I'm really glad you've joined us. Today's guest is David Silva. David and I have a really powerful conversation about coming together, about masks, about emotions, about not feeling good enough, about so many topics that many men we meet talk about, they also experience. He's a young man, and he is navigating life and experiencing things that sometimes men never experience. And I'm excited for you to hear his conversation today. He and I talk about a topic pretty deep for him, and I reminded him that I am honored to not only know him, but I believe that him sharing his story is going to liberate many young men and men around the world to also find themselves liberated. I think there's a quote uh, about fear by Marianne Williamson, and I think it talks about our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that scares us, and we sometimes we let sometimes our fear, like, I'm going to say it wrong, but sometimes our fear gets in the way. And what we know is that we get liberated by the opportunity to help others pass through their fear. Like when we are liberated by our own fear, we liberate others. I'm just so excited that hopefully you caught on to what I was trying to say. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence liberates others. Man. And I'm hoping that his story will liberate others, other men out there who may be dealing with health issues or challenges, and they don't talk about it and they bottle it up. I know, like, after my camel ride, that camel shook me up. Like I felt shook up after I got off that camel, and I was thinking the pain is still trying to find its way out of my body. But it was fear in the way of me making that move. But it was also the goal of my life to not only go to the pyramids, but to ride a camel and to experience that. And I can easily look back and be like, I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have done it. No, I'm glad. Absolutely, I did it. And now it's like, okay, this is the learning lessons from it. Everything we do, we have an opportunity to recognize that this too shall pass. Every moment is not going to be the highlight of the life, and every moment is not going to be in the pits. But we get the opportunity to just, how do we stay equanimous, as they say in Vipassana meditation? How do we not get sucked into aversions? How do we not get sucked into cravings? But how do we just stay equanimous? And I'm not saying equanimity is easy. It may be easy to do when you're at the ashram or you're at a meditation retreat center with 2 meals a day and your last meal is at 5 p.m. and you're in a very silent place. No one's talking to you. No one's feeding you some of their stuff. I think it's easier. But when you come back to the flatland and the heartland of the world and you're like, people keep running their mouth and people keep saying stuff I don't want to hear. How do we stay equanimous in those moments? And I'm really beautiful to see how David has navigated his situation in a way of creating a morning practice for himself, having daily affirmations. And one of the things I learned in my journey, not only living in India, but then coming back and like, testing and finding my own practice, is I don't currently have a daily morning practice that I have uh, consistent with, but I think it's coming. I feel that in this conversation and a couple of other conversations I've had recently, that's what I need in the beginning to create my mornings. Not picking up my phone and letting the work and the life drama in the world get me sucked in, but I need to kind of come and say, here's what I need my day to be like. If I'm going to write a book, I need to be writing a book. I need to have time on the calendar that's dedicated to me. I need to treat myself as if somebody who is important. Man, I think these are all things that are intellectually really easy to understand. And now it's the hard work. Now it's the heart work of putting them into action. Thank you for being a part of this podcast. We ask you to go and rate our podcast, rate, whatever you do. Like, it takes about 3 minutes, 2 minutes. I think people say it can take less. Give us a review. Let us know how we're doing and let us know how we can make it even better for you. And if you know anybody that we should be talking to, please let them know. Let us know. We would love to meet them somewhere and find a way to have these conversations with them as well. We really appreciate you for all you've done. And as we get close to episode 100, we are right next to 100. Like, we are 97, 98, 99. 3 more episodes and we're at episode 100. What a milestone for us as a small team. But we hope that with the 100 people we've talked to, with the more people that we've connected with, that the people who are listening to the episode, that they're learning that there are men out there who feel, men who speak, men who speak about what they feel. And the more we can normalize that, we'll find more boys who learn that they can speak, that they can feel, and they can speak about what they feel. Thank you for being a part of this community. Thank you for being a part of the Million Mask movement. We hope you've already made your mask, and stay tuned for November 11th, 11/11/22. Maybe you see the cool math in there. We're going to have a celebration here in the Bay Area. And if you're not here in the Bay Area, you can watch us virtually, but we're going to be celebrating. And between now and then, we're going to celebrate 100 new schools participating in the Million Mask movement. Trainings and teachers being trained to facilitate workshops around the country. And we are looking for you. So if you know any teachers in your community who you feel could benefit by becoming a certified facilitator in the Taking Off the Mask methodology, please have them reach out to us. Please connect them to us. Show them our website, show them a podcast, whatever way that you can get our information in front of them so that we can help them. And there'll be a little video ready coming up pretty soon that we're working on right now. But we thank you. And so thank you for being a part of this long intro today. We look forward to you hearing this episode with David Silva. Enjoy today's episode, folks. Take care. David and I met over the last several years, and there's a couple of stories where we can talk about the entry points of where we met. But today, I'm going to let David introduce himself, and then we're going to jump into these masks. I believe that as we talk about the story of the mask, some of those weaving points will show up in this conversation. David, thank you for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's nice to be
Thank
here.
you. Glad you're here, man.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
how about you tell the folks who you are, what information do you want them to know about you as we jump into this conversation?
Well, David Silva. I'm originally from Oakland, and I am a full-time welder. And I do streaming occasionally on Twitch, so I play a lot of games and stuff like that. And I'm currently trying to be more of a motivational speaker sort of influencer for exactly what we're doing now. So it's a little bit about me.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Tell maybe okay. We're going to come back to that because I want to after we talk about these masks, I want to learn where that came from and what brought that about, right? But
All right.
let's do the mask, and then I imagine that story is going to weave into what is what this conversation is about, but also that next thing that you're trying to achieve in your life. So I'm excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, let's do it.
All
If you
right.
want, you can actually go first if you like.
You want me to go first? Okay. All right. Well, folks, for those who have not made a mask out there, what we're going to do is we're going to share our mask. And the mask is what we call a representation of what you let the world see about you. The front of the mask are the things that we gladly let people see. And the back of the mask are the things that we don't usually talk about, don't let people see. And so the front of the mask is what we're going to share first. So I'll show you my picture and I'll show you what I wrote. So this is the picture I drew. This is the mask I drew today.
Okay.
And here are the words I drew today: serious, caring, and dedicated. Um, and I think that the way these words popped up today, the way I'm really living them out today is today we had a field trip with some young people from our social emotional leadership academy.
Hmm.
It was a beautiful group, and we also have a black boys circle that meets usually separate. And today we just all came together. So there was like, 16, 17 of us at the Oakland Museum. And it was a beautiful exhibit. Um, and I think that as I was like getting there and kind of getting them kind of meeting each other, I know the young men have a hard time really meeting each other. So, I give them the
Hmm.
assignment, make sure you say hello to everyone. And I have to say it again, I have to say it again. And they still don't always do it. They kind of half do it. And I
Yeah.
just, there's no frustration, but it's also like I'm trying to help them break past those cycles of like why am I not willing to go up to a young man and say hello and introduce myself and like what are those things? So today I started off our conversation really serious today with them. I'm like, some of you didn't do the task. It was a simple task, but guess what? I know that everything that's simple is not easy, right? And so it's simple to go up to somebody and say hello and introduce yourself, but it's also very revealing and very exposing and very it could be extremely uh, anxiety provoking if you are not a
Hmm.
person who talks to people a lot, right?
Hmm.
And so that was one today, but ultimately it was a serious note, but it was with a love and care. And so today I was exhibiting that and caring, and like one of my young men had to come from San Francisco. His mom wasn't able to bring him, so I had to go over to San Francisco, pick him up, bring him here, go to the library, the museum, finish the museum, take him back, and then get here and have this conversation. So when I think about dedicated, I don't ask for any credit for being dedicated, but I think I'm really dedicated to things that are important to me. And I think people who know me know that I am, and I'm committed, and that's what's really real on my mask today. So serious, caring, and dedicated.
Okay. I like that, and I actually share one with you. And I'll show my mask here. And
Okay.
this is mine right here.
All
Had
right. All right.
had to put the glasses on there. And here I have happy, caring, and empowered. I I'm very I show the world happy specifically because if I have a day where I'm just like quiet, I have my days where I'm the complete opposite of I'm very loud and I'm just like that energy in that room. And if I'm not that, they're like, "Hey, what's wrong?" I'm just like, "Nothing. It's just one of those." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's that's typically what word is immediately associated with me. And then empowered, I like to take it upon myself to like feel like that I know what I'm doing.
Mm.
If that kind of associates with empowered, like I want to, it kind of makes me think about. Well, let's go with the last one, and then I'll kind of touch back to empowered and caring because I always, I always like, hey, are you okay? I'm always that person to like ask and associate myself with others and stuff, and just try to see if everybody's okay. Um, so going back to empowered real quick, I learned that from when I was working at Chipotle. Like, and what they associated with empowerment was, do I make you confident in your ability? And I said, well, what do you mean? Well, do I make you want to do these things and reach like kind of like these high standards and this quality of work? And I said, well, yeah. And ever since then, I took it upon myself to feel empowered with everything that I do and do it to the best of my potential. So that's what I like to show the world.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I think something you said that stood out to me when you said, uh, if I go into a place and people are expecting me to be happy, the one in the room, and if I'm not, then they ask me what's going on. And so I feel like, I think I heard you say, so you feel like you have to have the happy on all the time. And I guess the
Yeah,
question, I mean, we're not in the question phase, but I'm gonna ask the question now. Just like, how hard is that?
it's it can be extremely difficult. I'll tell you right now though that I've been doing it for so long that it's just very natural and just nonchalant to me. And I try to really be that. uh and I thought it was for everybody else, but it really is for myself as well, because I don't like to be that 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 uh that absence of energy, you know.
Mm,
I've always sort of been that pick me up person, um for not only others but even for myself sometimes, so it helps.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's tough.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be very telling about the back, right? Because if you're if the happy is something that you feel responsible to do, maybe you said for yourself a little bit too, but I think when
Hmm.
you first described it, you described it more what you do for others,
Exactly.
right? And
Yeah.
so imagine how we can justify so many things because we got good at it, right? We got good at it. So I'm excited. Let me go to the back, and then I'm excited to
All
jump into
right.
this next part because maybe
Sounds good.
it will lead into that, right?
Hmm.
Um, all right, the back of my mask, and these are the things that are really trying to, because I make a lot of masks. I'm always trying to like really just tap into like what's happening really present right now, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and so this is a worried, fear of, and I put some lines there because I got lots of fears right now
Yeah.
that I'm working through, and self doubt. And when I think of fear, I'm thinking about fear of failure, thinking about what does massive success look like. Like I fear sometimes. I have a brother who has mental health issues, and I saw him the other day again walking around Oakland, and my heart was just breaking. You know, my heart was yeah. So I fear him getting hurt. I fear something happening. Like when you watch somebody who is deteriorating, it's one thing when you watch somebody who's in the neighborhood deteriorating. You're like, man, this person has got it bad. But when you watch your own family member, your own brother, your own blood, it sometimes feels like helpless,
Hmm.
and I put self doubt because like I can't. There's nothing I can do. Like I work with young people all over, all the time, like thousands of young people a year. I facilitate workshops for, and my own brother, who I've been knowing since he was at birth. Right? I
Right.
have no, I have my superpower is useless with him, and so sometimes it makes me just. I know it's not my responsibility to save him. He's an adult, you know, but it's something when you love somebody, you can't just watch them and fall apart and be like, oh well, it's their life. They'll figure it out. Well, for me, it doesn't work that way. I mean, and as many
Absolutely.
times as he has, betrayed my trust and he's lied and he's done blah blah blah. It comes back to that place of like I helped raise him, and so
Hmm.
I I have my heart is invested in him. So those are things that are really present right now for me. So that's the back of my mask.
I like that. Right on. Yeah, and I'm with you there, and it's a matter of us really caring about what drives us, or us caring about like what means a lot to us. That's why it affects us so much, because if there's a way to go about something, we're gonna try to find a way to do it. Those who want to, and um, those who, if it doesn't matter to us, then it's just like, well, it doesn't matter, and we'll just kind of give that up. But in your instance, you really care, and that's the beautiful part of it, that you want to try it and do something about it, and you're always trying and you don't give up, which is, I respect that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but it's hard too, right? I mean, I think the
Absolutely.
not giving up part is like there's times where he comes around and he frustrates me. Excuse me.
Listen.
Uh, he must be in the environment. I'm feeling his inner like he's like, take that. Um, but I think that yeah, I when you're at that place where it's like I'm at the end of what I can do, I can just still continue to care. I can continue to care. I continue to show love and continue to be as much
Hmm.
of a brother to him as I can, and in this way. And that's all I can do, So
Absolutely.
yeah, so those are the things that are standing out the most in this present moment. So yeah,
Right on.
thank you.
Yeah, of course. I felt the same way when I was doing the back of my mask. I was like
Mm,
in that moment, and I was just like, no, go back, and no. And I stopped and I grabbed the paper and I said, no, those are the three that you put down. And those are if you felt that in that moment, there's a reason for it. And I sat there and I was just like, it might be very instinctive, but there's a purpose. There's a action and
mm,
reaction. You did it. What's the reason for it? So
yeah.
mine, almost just like yours, I have fear, doubt,
Mm,
and loneliness. And
mm,
just like you, I have fear of a lot of things, and I being lonely is one of them. But the fear really incorporates to, like, just the fear of not being accepted, which is kind of goes hand in hand with that happy part of the mask.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that fear if I'm not that person, where I just people will just kind of like, just, all right, well, he's not that guy anymore, so we'll just leave him, and
Mm,
it's that fear, and it's a fear of not being enough for anybody. I guess that's really what it is. Fear of not being enough. And that hurts me, that drives deep too, to like my
yeah.
past and stuff. So self-doubt, the why I thought about that was because of work. I'm currently in a position to like be a leader and like be like a
Mm,
foreman and stuff like that, and they kind of like challenged me recently. Like they put me a week with my own people, and it wasn't like on purpose. It was just kind of like a, hey, we need the people, so we're gonna send you out there with some people. And I was just like, man, that was where the lack of empowerment came. And I was like, am I doing this right? Am I enough? Like, am I? So
mm,
that's where the self doubt came from, and then the loneliness as well, the fear of you know of everything that I mentioned, and all that self doubt causing me to criticize myself so much, where I won't have anyone.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and nobody wants that. That's not a life that anybody wants to have. you know so
yeah,
that's my back of my mask. And again, it was very
yeah,
instinctive, and in that moment.
yeah. Thank you for that. I think I resonate with the fear and the feeling of not being enough. I resonate a lot, and I think. Do you know where that came from? Have you had a chance to look back and see where that maybe where that first showed up in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't it started kind of like back in like middle school, high school. I was a very big outcast. And
Mm.
um and my wife, I actually got married since I last saw you. uh
What?
yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I actually got married, and my wife, I've met her. I've known her since sixth grade, and yeah, since sixth grade. And it's a crazy story, but even when I said that to her, she said, "What do you mean? Like, everybody knew you. Like, you were a cool kid." And I was like, "It didn't feel that way." And then when I got into high school,
Mm,
I was very like, I had a bunch of different crowds. I had like my ROTC crowd, my marching band crowd. I had all my other friends and
mm,
stuff, and I was just very like, I'm very loud and outburstic, and I have a very like open personality, and I wasn't particularly great with conversation and boundaries. And
Mhm.
so, slowly that kind of took over, as far as like, am I being a good enough friend? And that's kind of the root cause of that, and it trickled into like even my family, like, can I really like be myself, you know? And so, but yeah, that's really the root cause right there, in the sense of the fear. And it was something that, like, when I finally understood, I was like, wow. And it didn't feel good, obviously. And that's sort of kind of why I want to get into that, that aspect of, helping others not have to feel that way.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for sharing that.
Hmm.
I think when I think about middle school, I mean, I work with a lot of middle schoolers. Middle school is a tough age, and my middle school experience also similar. Maybe I don't know if I would use the word outcast for myself. I think I wanted to be in everybody. I wanted to be everywhere, but I didn't feel
Hmm.
like I was a part. I
Hmm.
felt like, and I guess maybe it's very similar in that way. I think I was like um, trying to figure out who I was, but also feeling not good enough, not cool enough, not handsome enough, not tough enough, right? Like, and I
Absolutely.
felt like I always had to continue proving it, right? It was always a constant
Hmm.
proving it. You better prove it. And I'm not really into fighting. I mean, elementary, I fought a lot, but I never started fights. Like
Hmm.
I always returned. I will gladly return, but I never started them. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I
Yeah.
think like in middle school, the one or two incidences in middle school, um, I wasn't into starting stuff. I wanted to be fun and friendly and cool with people. And then always like, why are people being jerks? Why they
Hmm.
want to call you names? Why do they want to make fun of you? Why do people want to do that? Right. And I
Hmm.
think that sometimes there's those things where you're like, why am I trying to be friends with the most jerkiest people? Like that's so dumb that you would want to be friends with people who are always often acting like jerks. And it's almost like the what we can't have, we want the most sometimes, right? Like,
Right.
um, but I think when you talked about the reason I connected to the middle school around the not being enough, I think, I was the oldest of four. Eventually, started off at three, and I was responsible for like to help raise my siblings.
Hmm.
And I think that it was kind of like, as much as I knew my mom loved me, I also felt that it was always conditional, right? Like,
Hmm.
like, like I think I remember one TV show where they were arguing with their mom about allowance. I don't know what show I was watching, some after school show, right?
Hmm.
And I went to my mom. I'm like, "Hey, why don't we get no allowance?" And she was like, "Allowance? I ain't paying you for stuff you supposed to do." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was like,
I got that
I
too.
mean, in the show, it made so much sense. And then when I went to her, she flipped me around like a
Yeah.
freaking jujitsu magic, and I'm like feeling guilty that I asked for some allowance,
Yeah.
like like I'm supposed to be wanting to clean this house all the time. Like
Right.
those are things like I should want to do. I don't want to, but then she guilted me into like. So I was always feeling like, oh well, I guess I gotta go watch that show again. There was no on demand back then, so you can't go
Yeah.
watch the show again and figure out the highlights. You gotta like wait 2 years for the show to go
Wait for
again
the
before you can
rerun. Yep.
wait for the syndication 3 years later, and by that
Yep.
time that argument is lost, right? But
Yeah.
I think that just knowing like man, like I'm trying to do my best. I'm trying to help out. I'm trying to be the man of the house when there's no man in the house, and I'm like, but how should a 7-year-old ever be comparing himself to what a man is supposed to do? Like,
Exactly.
so if you told you're the man of the house at 7 and you don't feel manly, I was barely figuring out how to be a boy, and I was told I was
Hmm.
supposed to be the man of the house. I'm like, uncle, slow down. Like, I'm barely learning how to aim in this little bucket right here.
Right.
My mom's yelling at me all the time 'cause I leave the seat up. I don't feel like a man. Nobody yells at a man, like, what I'm saying? And I
Yeah.
think it was constantly always like, man, How am I
Yeah.
the how am I being given this title of man of the house, yet like somebody's still always in charge of me. Somebody always gets to tell me what to do. I don't get to make my own rules. So I'm holding a title that is actually is like almost empty, you know?
Yeah. Wow.
And I think that that started really young. And so then it's always been a question. Well, I'm an adult now. I'm a man, so I got a job. I got to pay my bills. I'm nobody takes care of me. I take care of myself, right? And then sometimes you still just like, why isn't that enough? Well, because it
Mm-hmm.
started off so young, not feeling enough. You got to like erase some of those old programmings, right? Because they're only
Absolutely.
programmings, and they replay, and they replay, and they replay. So I thank you for sharing that because it definitely resonated
Yeah.
with me, man.
Of
Yeah,
course. No, yeah. Yeah, it's tough when it comes to those things, like especially how you said, like, the allowance thing, and wanting to fit in. And I was really that kid. I was just like, oh mom, like the kids when Vans and like skinny jeans were like the new fad and stuff like that. Like when I was in middle school, high school, that was came out. I'm like, mom, I want some Vans and some pants like that. And they're like, why? So you can be just like everybody else. And I was just like, but I want them. And so I really tried as much as I could to like go get some knockoff Vans, like some Airwalks or something like that, just to like even fit into like, oh yep, he got the new shoes too. So it was the absence of not of being recognized that made me want that. How you said, like, we want we don't have, and those kind of things. And I guess looking at that too, even like with today, like, yeah, up to today, like, we've created like this stigma of not what just a boy should be, but also what a girl should be. Just young adolescent teenagers. And like, it's a societal thing, and it could be even influenced like culturally. And what I mean by that is, like, even if, like, how certain ethnicities view, uh she, she needs to be a housewife. You're supposed to work hard enough for her to be at home, and this and that is, and that is instilled in the child, and they have this sort of entitlement to fulfill because of what their parents put in them. Whether it's, the boy, he has to be strong, he has to be the breadwinner of the family, he has to hide his emotions and things like that, and he has to be that tough barrier. The female has to be the pretty one and the housewife, and she has to take care of everyone despite of however she feels. It's the same. It all comes down to having to take care of the other one despite
yeah,
how you feel.
yeah,
And you know one thing kind of trails off into another. And what does it come back to? It kind of comes back to acceptance,
yeah, yeah,
you know and yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough thing to kind of like grasp. And I've been in that road for quite a while, and it's a tough
mm,
one to even just like, even when someone asks you, like, how often does someone come along and ask you, how are you? And it's not like, good. No, how
mm,
are you?
mm,
It's much deeper than that. It's like, okay, like, it's so normal for us to say, oh, I'm great. Let me pull you to the side. I asked, how are you? How are you up
mm,
here? How's everything? Are you okay? And I had someone ask me that one time, and I broke down, because
mm,
that dam that I built had a crack in it, and that created pressure,
mm.
and it busted.
Yeah.
So
Mm. Can you tell me about more about that part when that person came to you? Was that a person you trusted? So imagine if you let the dam bust open, it may have been a person that you trusted, or was the question just out of left field that it just caught you off guard and you 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 didn't see it coming?
it was both. It just so happened to be a person I trusted, and it caught me off guard.
Hmm.
And I guess that's why I let it out, because that was the last thing I expected coming. That wasn't a question that I had, that I was ready to answer. Luckily,
Hmm.
it was just me and him. and
Yeah.
and even if there was anybody else around, I would have been okay with that. But just to me having let that out, and being okay with letting it out was what I loved
Mm,
more about it, because I was comfortable with that feeling of, just kind of letting go a little bit. And
yeah.
I think that should be okay for anybody.
Have you? How long ago was that? How long ago was that experience? That this moment you're talking about?
That was a that one was a couple years ago,
Okay.
when prior to the recent move.
Okay.
And it was just, yeah. Yeah.
And has this person come back and ask you again? Have you even had somebody else come and go deep with you so you could go deep recently?
Yeah, I had a follow-up. It's my uncle, and he said, how are you doing? I said, I'm doing great. And he
Mm,
said, why, what's different? I said, because I'm really practicing the moment of being present. I'm trying to understand the way that I feel, and more in depth, from like a sort of like psychological, well, excuse me, like from like a psychologist viewpoint, so to speak.
mm,
I have this. I don't know if you've ever heard of Jordan Peterson.
yeah.
I'm a very big fan of like his work and stuff, and some of the things that he says, and I watch a lot of his what's the word, his like classes that he does. Like they're
Okay.
just like his YouTube videos where he's doing seminars and stuff like that.
Okay. Okay.
And there's some things that like he says that like just speaks out to me. And I picked up his book, 12 Reasons for Life. 12,
Mm,
yeah, I believe that's what it's called. Um, and he said that you make the world a much worse place if you don't take care of yourself. And the rule that's
mm.
based on, 12 rules for life, that's what it's called.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Okay.
12 rules for life. And he said, take care of yourself as if someone you're responsible for. So
Mm.
why is it so easy for us to take care of somebody else's needs and not our own? And I
Mm.
when I heard that, I said, wow. Well, when I heard and read it, it hit me hard, because I sat and I stopped reading, and I said, why is it hard? It's because we want to be able to help that person in the moment, because we feel we can just come back at any other time and take care of it later. And little do we
Mm.
know, the longer we wait, the harder it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. The take care of yourself as if it was somebody you were responsible for. I love that. I love that, and I think it maybe connects to a saying that talks about like treat yourself like somebody you love, right?
Exactly.
How often do I? I'm saying, how often do I like talk to myself when I hear those voices in my head? They are not loving words that I say to myself. To my young people in my work, to my mentees, to my friends, I am I love giving out positive, loving messages. And I am when I look at myself and when Ashanti is talking about Ashanti,
Mm-hmm.
it's not often the same. I'm getting better. I'm getting better. Today I
Good.
was talking to the young men about that context. Like, what is the voice you hear, even when you're not saying the words out loud, but you're saying it. You're saying it. You're feeling it. You're hearing it, and it's what you're saying about yourself to yourself. That sometimes is more powerful than anything anybody else could ever say to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it probably wouldn't be how you would let yourself with the vocal cords and the vibrations of your voice say it to someone. You would probably never talk to someone like that. But the way that I found myself talking to myself and the way that I hear other young people talk to themselves, it's that work. And I'm excited about this journey because the journey that I'm pushing myself through right now is this journey of fear. Like, what's fear? Why is fear getting in the way? What is fear blocking me? Like writing a book. What am I afraid about? Why do I keep holding myself back? Why do I not dedicate? I will dedicate to other people all day long. And at the end of the
Absolutely.
day, I have no energy left, and I'm like, I want to write. I should be writing a book, but I have no energy left, and I've given it all. My battery is on E. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I charge this thing up way better than I charge myself up.
Wow.
This thing does
That's
this
wow.
thing when if I get to 20%, I'm like, I
I
better
got
find some
plug it
charging.
in.
Man, I will be on E and I'll be keep trying to go. I'll keep trying to go with no
Mm-hmm.
energy. No. And I'm like, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, right? It's interesting
Absolutely.
how real that is for me. So yeah, yeah. I'm gonna pick up that book. I heard him talk. I heard a lecture that he was talking about that book, and I have not picked it up. So maybe that's gonna be one of my summer reads.
I feel that's a good one. And lecture was the word I was looking for. Lecture
Oh,
was the
okay.
word. So that book, I haven't finished it. It's a long book, and I have to sometimes look at the words, and I'm just like, I try to really, really put, like, use context clues to what some of the big words mean, but then I use dictionary.com. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense now. So I saw a little slow with the book. Another one that I
Nice.
would highly, highly recommend to you is called Permission to Feel by Mark Brackett.
Oh, come on now. Come on. Where is it at? I got that one.
You got that one? Oh
I got that one.
man.
Oh, that's a beautiful book.
I I all right, I'm gonna get deep. I'm gonna start going
Okay.
deep now, Shanti.
All right.
About a year ago to the day, I was diagnosed with stage 1 cancer, testicular cancer.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, and I went through chemo. I went through one session of chemo, and today I had my blood test and my CT scan, and I'm supposed to be seeing the doctor on Monday.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm so thankful and
Mm,
blessed to be where I'm at, and to it's like the timing was right. Um, when it happened, not that it's a great thing, but when it happened, where I'm at right now in my life, my living situation and everything, like everything couldn't have fallen in line better.
mm,
And my wife works for the same company that gave me my chemo, and she works hand in hand with the doctors, and she looked at my scans and she said, hey, I think everything's going to be okay. And I said, well, I hope so, and fingers crossed. And that, so that's really what got me into wanting to do this, because sitting there with people who are 50 years older than you, it hits you different. And every time they come, every day that I went, you get to know people. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? You chit chat, sit and chit chat with them, and it's crazy. You don't realize it until every time they give you your steroid or your bag of chemo, they ask you for your birthday.
mm,
7196. Okay, and they put it up,
mm,
and then the person next to me, 83 from 47. I said, from
mm,
what? And it wasn't until
mm,
them that I started that I began to, like, fathom and understand we are here for not a long time, and we need to make the
mm,
best of it. And my mom came, and the whole week that I was she left Vegas, and she came over here for the whole week, and she took me from my appointments and took help take care of me and everything. And she brought me this book, and she brought me
mm,
it's called Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. I haven't got to it yet,
mm.
but
Okay.
I started this one, and I'm like 2 3 chapters in, and even just like the first 2 pages, the prologue of what he says, I started bawling. I started crying, because I just these were words that I needed to hear a long time ago. It's okay to let yourself feel. It's okay to let yourself be submissive to these things. You don't have to fall into that stigma. And um, it was a it's a beautiful book so far, and life is just something that we all need to be really grateful for. And what I mean by that is, I started um, doing little things religiously throughout my day, not religion, but like to the book. And I would wake up and give myself, like, a daily affirmation. I'm here. I
Mm,
woke up today. What's the best? And that's what I say to people. How you doing today? I woke up today. It's a great day. That's the first thing I
mm,
tell people, and some people look at it like, oh, well, that's a very pessimistic viewpoint, or like, so well, no, it's not supposed to be. It's not, and it is what
mm,
it is. Thing. I'm very fortunate. Wake up
yeah.
early, 4 o'clock every day, whatever it is, have my cup of coffee if need be, sit there and feel myself like, okay, no rush. Let's get up early. Let's get ready for work. Let's get. I try not to rush myself. Turtles live longer than rabbits. I forgot where I heard that, but I heard when I heard that I was like, wow, that's because they in Spanish there is a saying too. El que vive rápido se va rápido. If you live fast,
Hmm.
if you're moving fast, you're gonna go
Hmm.
fast. And
Hmm.
so that helped me begin to. I'm not an expert at it
Hmm.
yet, but begin to feel and do those things for myself. And actually, I even a part of that morning ritual is I began journaling.
Hmm.
I have a journal like with like 3 weeks of entries, and it's not particularly like a it varies from how do you feel right now to my day was this, or I feel like this, I have hope, or whatever. It's the
Yeah.
little things that you have to do to take care of yourself, and even if you don't know what to do, a
Yeah.
beautiful thing is that we all have something to contribute, no matter who you are. Yeah, we all have something to contribute, like, hey, this works for me. You try it, it
Yeah.
doesn't work, I'll try the next thing, and so on and so forth, man. So but going back to that, that was a I was when I got diagnosed, I was at work when they called me. They said, "Hey, we this is what's going on, and you're going to need chemotherapy." I remember, like, I hung up the phone, and
Hmm.
I started crying. My foreman was like, "What's going on?" And they were my team
Hmm.
was aware of it, and we're all really close. And when they heard
Yeah.
about it, they
Yeah.
stopped what they were doing. We like got a group hug, and like everything's okay. They're like, "Do you need anything?" And prior to my chemo, I was going to get surgery to get it removed.
Okay.
It was a tumor, so I got it removed.
Okay. Okay.
And
Okay.
after that phone call, I went home, but I went to the parking lot to my truck. I called my aunt Vanessa, and I was just it was aside from the conversation that I had with my uncle of am I okay, that was probably the hardest I ever cried.
Hmm.
And I lost myself for like those 5 minutes that I had a conversation with her. She said, "What's going on?" And I explained to her, and she was very worried. And she said, "I don't want you to be alone. Where can you go?" I said, "I can go with my in-laws." And she said, "Okay, call me when you get there." So she was there every step of the way, and she's
Hmm.
definitely someone that I'm very thankful for, on this journey of my recovery, because she's there from day one. She calls me, "Hey, you need anything? You know." And
Yeah.
it's the hospitality of a
Yeah.
person that, like, that really, like, makes me happy. Like, there's really good people out there in the world.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
but yeah, there's a lot to be grateful for. And you know creating that discipline for yourself, whatever it may be, to help
Yeah.
yourself recover is what you can do to treat yourself like someone you're responsible for. you know
Hmm. Oh
yeah.
man. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for sharing that, and I I appreciate you, and I think you're gonna. I don't think you know how much that's gonna help some young people, um, uh, and I'm thinking about one young man in particular who has spoken about having fear about this, about that reality, about something, about noticing some kind of growth and noticing some, and not wanting to go to the doctor because he doesn't want to know what's going to happen, and he's worried. And I'm like, you you're choosing not to know, and I can't understand all the fear that he's feeling. He doesn't know a
hmm
diagnosis, he doesn't, but he's resisting to go get it checked out, and I'm like, brother, all I can tell you is the sooner you know, the maybe the sooner something can happen. But to resist it, to feel it, to be worrying about it, you're basically you're creating the feeling in your body that there is something wrong, right? You Even though it hasn't yet been confirmed, you know. And I think the same thing like Joe Dispenza talks about this idea of like how our minds are powerful, right? Our
Yeah.
minds, our thoughts create things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like your body doesn't know if you actually saw a bear or if you really really imagined or remembered seeing a bear. Like you can create the same energy overload by remembering the thing again,
Yeah.
even though the thing hasn't happened, or even if it never happened. The
Yeah.
fear can be so overwhelming of anticipation of something happening. You can create the same type of hormones in your body that is like as if it's happening.
I don't want to cut you off or anything, but it's funny that you say that because, well, I'm gonna throw in a little fun fact.
Yeah, yeah.
The eating eating a carbohydrate or any kind of sugar first thing in the morning, like, well, it doesn't, not even in the morning, like after you break your fast,
Mm.
can stimulate enough adrenaline to stimulate you as if you were to feel as if you were running for away from like a cheetah or a lion. That's what they said. Like because your insulin levels like spike so high, like all that
Yeah,
like sugar rush that you're having after your stomach's been empty and
yeah,
processed everything you already had, it just
yeah.
spikes it up. I just thought that was interesting. Just figured I'd throw that in
No, I'm
there.
glad you did. And then same thing you just said. Like, and then what happens after? Then the crash, right?
We crash
Then the
exactly.
crash, right? And so, like, for kids, I grew up on cereal. I grew up on sweet,
Yeah.
sugary cereal. So at home, you got a lot of energy, and you get the first period, and you're just
Oh.
like, you're like, and your parents are like, my kid has plenty of energy. What do you mean my kid is sleeping in class? What do you mean my kid? Well, some parents didn't even know that the sugar could
Yeah.
do that to you, right? They just think he
Yeah.
had breakfast. He ate breakfast. Well, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he ate 25 grams of sugar in 35 seconds.
That's it.
Drank the other 35 ounces of
In
sugar
the
in the
milk.
milk,
Yep.
and then he went to school, like, and he crashed, right?
Yeah.
And you don't even know that that's happening. And how often are we doing things that we don't even know could be hurting
Absolutely.
us?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it's those little things, like it's goes hand in hand with our mental health, like what we consume. And they say you are what you eat. If you eat like poop, you're gonna feel like
Mm,
poop. And
yeah.
and don't eat sugar first thing in the morning, kids. Eat your
Mm,
protein and eat your fats first thing in the morning.
mm,
That'll help it prolong it, and you'll have a lot of energy for a longer span of time. And I that's kind of one thing I slowly did too. Like, uh, don't have, if you want to have a cup of coffee, have it black. It has 5 calories. It won't do if you don't add sugar. It's only 5 calories for an 8 ounce serving, I believe, something like that. And if you add like creamer and sugar, you're gonna add that up to like 300 calories, 400 calories. You go to Starbucks, you're gonna have a 700-calorie drink, and man, I can keep going on and on about that stuff. That stuff's kind of cool to me. But again, that goes with like the health stuff, and you got to take care
yeah.
of yourself in every way you can.
Yeah.
But ain't nothing wrong with having a burger or something now and then. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Well, I know for me, keto is a type of eating that works really well for me, right? Like
Really?
leaving the sugar, because sugar is like my enemy. Sugar, I have an addiction to sugar. I have an addiction
Okay.
to flour and sugar. I love them, and they love me, and but they don't do it's not it doesn't do good for me, right? It's no good for
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
and I also run to it for comfort. I run to it to escape. I
Uh,
run to
I
it.
do
It's my
sweets.
it's my jug of choice, right? And I think that before I thought something was wrong with me, like that. I would in college I would be like people like, oh, we're going to this party. I said, well, I don't drink and I don't smoke, but I eat. Is there gonna be food there? You know? And they'd be like,
I'm that
what?
guy.
Yeah, and I remember like how food was my go-to, and it was,
Mm-hmm.
and I could also be, righteous and think like because I don't drink or smoke that I'm better than somebody, but I just use food because I'm a big guy and food can you can like people's not gonna be like judging you because you eat a lot because you're a big guy because that's just normal.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a drug. It's just a different type of drug that I'm using to comfort things I don't want to deal with and
Exactly.
feelings I don't want to experience and emotions I don't want to face
Yeah.
and trauma I don't want to resolve or heal from,
Or admit to.
or
Yeah.
I need to, but I just don't want to face it. You know?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm totally with you there. We all
Ooh
have our
wee.
own little yeah.
I want
And
first of all, I first so Monday, this Monday coming up is going to be you're going to get some new some news. Is that accurate?
correct. Yeah, that's
Okay,
correct. And
man.
I'll be sure to let you know. I'll let you know.
Okay. Well, I'm really thankful for you making time for this conversation. I think here's what I'm hoping as soon as this episode go live, I'm gonna share it with the young man who I'm thinking about right now, and I'm hoping I, who knows what the magic thing that inspires somebody to finally take action, but I have a feeling that him hearing from someone who has been through it and who is getting through it could help him, right? Because I only
Mm-hmm.
tell him from a mentor perspective, like, man, you really you can get through this, whatever it is, But I'm only speaking from positive thinking, right? I'm not speaking from personal experience, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I just want to appreciate you for sharing your story because, and maybe there's some other young men out there who are noticing some things or feeling some things and noticing things in their body that they don't want to face, that they don't want to deal with, and maybe just need to know that, man, there's nothing wrong with you, right? And that you can get through this too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If I have to give any message out there to whoever wants to listen in, trust the process. I have this quick little theory. Um,
Mm,
I have a quick little theory that um for that comes from the quote, "Everything will be all right." Dep-
mm,
you have a situation, whether it goes in. Let's say you have an event, whether it goes in a good or a bad direction.
yeah.
You can ride that out, and that's going to end up going into something good. You want to take the example that I use is a breakup.
Yeah.
A breakup happens. It's going to be bad because you're going to have withdrawals. You want to be with that person.
Yeah.
That endpoint will be good. And they say, how? I don't understand. And I said,
Mm,
it's going to be good because what do you learn from that? You learn what you didn't have, which is you're going to have a lot more self-love for yourself. You're going to pretty much what they say, know your worth.
mm,
So that bad outcome will turn into something great, beautiful. Or my move to Texas.
mm,
I didn't have a job for like 2 weeks, and once I started work, bam, and got an apartment, and I did things to do my streaming and stuff. So that situation of not having work and then finally getting a job led to one thing after another. So everything will be all right is exactly what it sounds like. Don't think no feeling is temporary. Excuse me, every feeling is temporary. It's not the end result.
mm, mm.
So yeah,
Man. Well, brother, I am proud of you, and I want to first of all just say I honor you for sharing this story. I think anytime a man comes to this conversation and was willing to like take layers of that mask off and know that my hope is that it inspires not only them to be like I'm I'm not alone in this, and hopefully inspires hundreds and thousands of people out in the world to say, oh, I'm not alone in this, and if that man can do it, then I can do it. And age is not a guarantee for our ability to for whatever. Like health is, we would think that you're young, you're healthy, you're older, you get less healthy, but it can happen so many different ways and so
to
many different
anybody,
of the billions of people on the planet. Everyone is going to experience a unique life in their own way. So thank you for this, and
of
thank you
course,
for. I'm gonna put those book links to those books in the show notes, and I think I am I am a reader in that way too, and so thank you for that, and thank you for. Have you do you listen to any books on Audible? Do you or
I don't.
are you more of a reader? Are you more of a
No,
reader?
I have to. I try to. I'm kind of. It's kind of like a double edged sword. Like I have to buy the Audible books and the actual books because it helps if someone reads to me.
Mm,
It helps me pay attention because my ADD will just be like, oh, just I'll wander off. So I
nice,
do the audiobooks and it helps having the words like being read and So
awesome.
yeah,
Well, that's the
definitely good
that's how
pickup.
That's how I get through them too. So,
Yeah,
man, I look forward to us, having conversations about other ones that you're reading that's coming up, and I look forward to the next conversation.
absolutely.
And is there anything you want to say? I mean, you just gave a message, which was a beautiful message to folks out there. But is there any last words you want to say before we close out?
I just want to I just want to say thank you for, taking the time to talk, and I love what you do, and I had my experience, but you are also a huge like part of why I want to do this, and and if there's any way I could help with ever forward, just let me know, please. I would love to help, and I would love to start putting my name out there in that world.
Oh man, well we need you, and I want to tell you here's what's happening right now, and I'll tell you because I haven't announced it here on the podcast, but we set a date 11/11/22,
Okay.
November 11th of 2022. We are going to celebrate this Million Mask movement. We're going to create a celebration on that day, and what we would love to happen. Our vision by that day is that 100 schools around the country would have a minimum attendance of 1,000 students. So any school can do it, but we're targeting a number just for a number's sake. But 100 schools that have 1,000 students each are going to take the Million Mask movement to their school, to their students. And
Awesome.
we're going to be training facilitators regionally. So, you know, we're going to be coming to Texas. We're going to be coming to the East Coast. We're going to be doing it here in Northern California, Southern California. So we would love you to, if you're available, to come to one of those regional trainings.
Absolutely.
And that is the work that we want to invite people to do in their communities, because
Mm-hmm.
there's a need. There's a need. And I think our young people need it and deserve it, to know that they're not alone, that uh, even though they've had to put on these really tough masks, these
Mm-hmm.
hard shells, that other people have too. And that if we can get more people like yourself who are saying, I want to support people in my community, whether they're young people, teachers, parents, adults, men, like I'm going to go and we want to equip you with those tools. And you're going to help us with our goal. Like, it's a win-win. It's a win for you to do the thing that you feel passionate about. It's a win for us in this movement of a
To
million
expand.
masks. That's right.
I
And we're
love it.
ready. So
Yeah.
stay tuned, and I'll be letting you know when we have our regional training. Maybe we'll bring it to your city right near you. And we'll be back at South by Southwest again in 2023, which I'm really excited about.
Cool.
So stay tuned.
Sounds good.
All
Evan Forward
right.
coming to a city near you.
That's right. Let's go. 100 schools, 1,000 student population, million mask movement. We're starting in August of 2022. So in the next month, we'll be kicking off our first regional training to train facilitators to do this work. And so if you're interested, if you know a teacher who's interested, if you know a community who's interested, let them know that we're ready. And that will be kicking off very, very soon. So David, you're in the mix.
All
and
right. I love
and
it.
now and now you've made a mask. You are a part of this movement. You're not just an observer of it. You are a part of it. And however you get inspired to help us amplify the mission of this work, please help us. You have ideas that we don't have yet, and that's how we're going to do it. So I'm ready. I'm excited to work with you more, and I look forward to the next season of this work, brother.
Likewise, brother. I appreciate you very much, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Right on. Well, folks, if you want to make a mask, you can do that at millionmask.org. You can do it digitally. David and I shared our mask here publicly, but you don't have to do that. You can share your mask anonymously at millionmask.org. The link will be in the show notes. You can follow us on social media, Ever Forward Club, at Ever Forward Club on all platforms. And we look forward to you being a part of not only the Million Mask movement itself, but transforming the communities around you for young men and boys who need to know that they are not alone. And this is not just a movement for young men and boys, but the work that we do in this podcast is giving men space to take off our emotional masks in a healthy way, in a safe way. And so thank you for the work you're doing out there in the world. We'll see you soon. Take care, everybody. The Taking Off the Mask podcast is produced by Ryan Louie. Editing, videography is also by Ryan Louie. Graphics by Kelly Wong. And a special thanks to the team at Ever Forward, Vanessa Cortez and Kevin Romero. I'd like to thank everyone who's been a part of the creation of this podcast. As we hit this 1-year anniversary, we hope that everyone who's been a part knows that they're a part of the Taking Off the Mask experience. And we look forward to you being a part of it as well. If you liked what you heard today, please like, subscribe, and share. And we look forward to us continuing to offer conversations that matter. Take care. See you soon.